everybody? Richard Dolan here for a courageous conversation.
Well, man, today you're right. There's no going back.
How do you feel the weight of that desire?
I have been there for a while.
Story's still being written, and you cut the story short. As they say, I'm playing with house money.
They said, neo-fascist.
You can't imagine, Richard. I've heard everything now.
But I'll tell you what, you ain't never buying your time back. Value your time.
Once you start a courageous conversation, there ain't ever going back to an ordinary one.
Rohan Marley, it's so great to be here with you. I'm grateful that anytime I'm in your presence, I feel enlightened, I feel empowered, I feel like I can enjoy anything that comes next, man. I trust you're well, brother. Thank you for being here.
Blessed love.
Listen, man, I mean, of all the things that people would love to talk to you about and learn more about, they would likely start with the family name. They would likely start with your father's journey. They might even talk a bit about what music means and the Rastafarian movement means and all those things. But to me, those things are obvious and are researchable. You can Google it, you can find it out. What I'm interested in is Rohan Marley, the man, the mission, the vision, his passion. When someone asks you right now, who is Rohan Marley? How would you answer that question?
Well, I would say, first of all, Rastafari, and that is Rohan Marley. Rohan Marley is Rastafari. What is Rastafari? Rastafari is a man that seeks to empower himself, within himself, first and foremost. Rohan Marley is the type of human being who is seeking a higher life. Rohan Marley, I would say, he's on a journey to complete what he knows, which is the teachings of his father that was given to him at a young age. And it's been the drive, the life passion, and the life principles is those same teachings. So I would say that Rohan Marley is a Rastaman, Orthodox Rastafari. I want that really, really loves Ethiopia. A man that really loves his family, loves his father, everything about his father, wants to emulate his father's teachings. Not necessarily his father's ways, but his father's teachings. Father's ways are good too, but that's a man, his ways. And if I have certain characteristics, that's beautiful, but and wanting to bring truth to light, truth regarding that human beings are one. We're all on the same mission, which is to live life to its fullest and, see God. And that is it. I feel like this is going to be the time when that's being revealed. So I'm one of those persons being ready to receive that presence physically in this planet. So that's me. I'm all about the God principles and the God life in the living.
I love that. I mean, for a lot of people who are watching this and they hear the term Rastafari and they do research or they Google it, they'll learn things like it's a way of thinking, it's a way of being. It for some it could be a faith. It's a blend of religions or values. But in 30 seconds, how would you describe it for people who aren't familiar with the Rastafarian statements and purpose? It's the presence of that term.
Rastafari means, the word, it's an Amharic word, the term Ras and Tafari. Ras is a title given to you, whether, from a youth working in, I would say, I consider it called, if we talk about the word, what it means, it's a government word. It's Ras, it's a title, head, and then Tafari is what we call like the creator, which is like self. So Rastafari is truly head of oneself, like identifying yourself within yourself and living your life as you, So Rastafari is the awakening of the higher consciousness within yourself to know that you're God and God lives in you and you're God too,
Well, here's why I'm so excited that you're saying this, because for those who are watching this and for those who are getting to better understand Rohan Marley, an entrepreneur, you're an athlete, you're a father, you're a spliff smoker in the moment. But among all those things, as a Rastafarian, you truly are a living demonstration of knowing and owning yourself. You are who
Absolutely.
you are who you are, and you rock this way. There's no difference in who you are any day of the week. Yes.
We're not young puppies anymore. You know, it's not like we're not here trying to guess what we are. We were doing that when we were younger, you know, when we were trying to figure it out. But if we really love life and we love, you know, the purpose of life, which is a journey, which is the day, each day, you know, is the purpose of life. We know that we evolve as human beings, you know, and it's impossible to be in the same place I was when I was 25 to where I am today, because when I was 25 years old, I was leaving college and beginning to find myself, not being told what to do, when to do it, and where to be, you know, being a part of a collegiate program. So when you leave that situation and you find autonomy, yeah, it's going to take some time to really hone in and ground yourself, because it's not something that comes to you. You have to go and get it. And it's like everything else, you know, it's like your own thoughts. If you want to remember something, you have to go into your irids and think about it and pull it from the ether. It's not just sitting in your brain. It's in the ether. It's traveling. It's always there. So we had to go and find it in the ether, which is wherever it is in the earth, wherever the vibration is in the earth. And we went to Ethiopia because we wanted to be a part of the truth and the part of creation. And we wanted to see how things were from the origin till now. So it's really about a sense of purpose for oneself. And how does one live every day, have the same things you have physically, but are able to transcend that feeling, because it's not a physical thing that's going to give you the feeling, you know. It's an awareness, it's an awakening, it's in a higher place, it's in the ether, it's a higher consciousness. And you have to know that it exists, because what you have physically exists around you at all times. So if you're looking for something here to make you happy, it's not going to make you happy, because the same thing that made you happy is going to make you sad in the physical form. It's a state of mind, a state of consciousness, and a state of being. So I, as a man, say Rastafari, but Rastafari is a word, you know, a terminology, but it's really about the action and then the emotional content that's created through your actions and how you're able to live and carry yourself and feel, because living is one thing, but we live in order to feel. You know, we don't just live, we live to feel, we live for emotions. You know, we want to be heightened, you know, so it's that.
This is a great segue into the bigger conversation, which is, as I'm listening to you, Rastafarian is a bit of a context. And when people right now are asking questions, very existential ones, who am I? What am I supposed to do? Where do I start? How do I begin? What I love is that for your vision and plans, which we're going to talk about you as a businessman, as a innovator, and as a standard maker, everything's coming from this context. So I hear you saying that you went into the ether, you found your sense of purpose. Once you got grounded with your purpose, you know that the purpose ultimately is for anybody, including yourself. And starting with you is to transcend pursuing, you know, worldly possessions and having stuff and things that are just not significant. Let me ask you something. When you think about the spirit of this Rastafarian, if this whole idea, this, I'm going to call it like a spirit of living and loving life. If you were to start focusing now, Rohan, on industries, here we go, on industries where you feel that a connection to living, so to feel, is now bankrupt, what worlds would you want to start reigniting and resubmitting and recalibrating people's connection to life? What industries do you feel right off the top of your head you'd love to be in?
Well, there's only one.
All of them.
I mean, industry-wise, there's only one industry for that, and it's the plant medicine industry, because plant medicine is our connection to the source. Plant medicine is our connection to the earth. The plant medicine is what carries all the information that's just over the time, the years, has collected all that DNA and has that within its structure. So the business I want to be in, which is life business, is a part of life, which is my life, is the plant business, the plant medicine business.
So it sounds like with this overarching context, what we now know is the business you want to really be in is the life business.
Mm-hmm.
Being alive, being connected to self, and being connected to all.
Life
and
business.
the way to access that is in the plant business. Now, there's different ways of being in the plant business. There's likely producing it, selling it, experiencing it. Is this consistent with your view?
Yes, my view, because we have to tell the story, we have to know from A to Z. So I'm from, like, when, I'm also a farmer, so it's just what it is, because I come from, my background is in coffee. And if you know, in regard, when I say farming, I come from a coffee farm, I'm a coffee farmer, so I understand it's like, it's from seed to cup. And it's like, here it's like from the same thing. It's like seed to the consumer, from the genetic, and whether it's the psilocybin or whether it's cannabis, it's that, I need to be a part of it from A to Z, because that's what it is. And that's how you tell a story. And that's how you inundate oneself. You have to know what it is that you're a part of, and what is it that goes into your system. So it's really an A to Z thing for me. It's a full circle.
And by the way, not to break the circle of conversation, but just maybe a fun fact, but I'm personally curious. I'm a fan of Marley Coffee, your brainchild.
Yes.
I mean, it's done phenomenally well, commercially successful. But when you look at the seeds that you use, the coffee beans you use, there's a good portion of them that are Ethiopian beans.
Absolutely.
Given what you just said about being connected to the motherland, and telling us a bit about why it's important to connect through our own history and being through plant, was that on purpose?
Yes, because my land is in Jamaica, and I have 52 acres, and with 52 acres, you can only do so much. First of all, I don't have the bandwidth to be able to get all the amount of product that's necessary for me to get an export license. So that in itself hindered me in Jamaica to be able to grow as an entrepreneur. So I couldn't get the export license. So at life, I kind of story. So I have to tell you, at life is kind of like I failed at what I really wanted to do after life. After college ball. So I was in Jamaica, and when I realized all the red tape in Jamaica, I realized that I have a coffee farm. I can't. It's not free to just have a farm and just package it and sell it. You need to go through all these regulations. Obviously you do, but that's just how, you keep a certain standard, which is like the coffee industry board, So, but to have that standard, and again, I was one of the first coffee farmers to become certified organic. So to have that standard and to enter a place that's been around for hundreds of years in Jamaica, it's a great big industry in Jamaica. And for me, as a Marley, to fit into that societal movement, it wasn't so accepted at the time. So I had to find a way to make it work. I left Jamaica. I moved to Miami. Then after Miami, I moved to Los Angeles, because when I moved to Los Angeles, I wanted to, play soccer was one of my things. So I wanted to try for the LA Galaxy, but I also went there for business. I was supposed to start the Tough Brown Clothing, and my brother Ziggy instrumental. So anyway, I feel that I started it, ran out of money because I took the family's money, but my partner was taking too much money, ran out of money. At the time, I didn't know how to raise money, even though I had the brand in 75 stores throughout Canada, etc. Failed. Family didn't want to put any more money until the other guy decided to take a pay cut. He wouldn't do that. Well, it didn't work. I told him I had to stop. So I said, you know what? Since I failed at life and everything, I told my family I'm moving to Africa. So I moved to Ethiopia for several different reasons. It was the millennium that year on the Ethiopian calendar, the year 2000. which in my view is the year of the return of Christ, but is a Christ energy, the Christ consciousness. It's an awakening. It's many different forms, you know. But I wanted to be there in the birthplace because in my early times when I would read the books I read in the early days, it told me that Ethiopia was where the gods like to descend on, ascend and descend. They had the point. It's the highest point in you know, on the highest land in the world. So they ascend and descend there. So I wanted to be there. And it's also told me it's where the gods like to be, in Ethiopia. So I went there for that. And plus it was the millennium. While I'm there, a man said to me, "Hey, Rohan, what are you doing here?" I said, "What you mean? I came home." He says, "No, you're Bob Marley's son. Do you sing?" I said, "No, I don't sing, but I have a coffee farm." So when he said that to me, he said, "Oh, do you know that Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee?" And then when the Arabs would go to Ethiopia and take the coffee back to Yemen, the Europeans bought the coffee from the Yemenites. And they said, "Oh, we have the beans from the Arabs." So it became Arabica. So that was my point. My point in life was to tell the world that my mission that I wanted to do as an entrepreneur, as a coffee guy, was to tell the world that Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. And the rightful name for the beans are Ethiopica, not Arabica. So that was one of my missions. So that's really that. And also it was like, it was told for me because 7 years prior to that, I went to a monastery. There was a coffee tree on the monastery. The Batawe was an Ethiopian hermit, a monk. I was with him. He's a good friend of mine. He's the one that teaches me how to pray and all these things. So I'm with him. He picks a cherry from the tree off the monastery, gave it to me, and told me that was going to be my future business, my future life. That was in the year 2000 on the Gregorian calendar, right? 7 years prior to when I went again. So 7 years later, I go there to the year 2000 on the Ethiopian calendar. So there's a 7-year difference. So the monk, he sends me back to the same monastery. I go to the monastery, and while I'm on this monastery, the monastery at the time, the monks there, they're processing the coffee on a barbecue. So I said, okay, I took a picture. I said, I asked the monk, I said, I thought the church didn't deal with coffee. He says, well, you see the roof has a leak. The monks need clothes, the people need food. We have coffee, we trade coffee. So I said, oh, the church do business. I said, okay, I understand. I said, well, okay, that was my number 2 signal. I go back to Addis Ababa, here on the radio that the Ethiopian government has banned Starbucks from buying coffee. I said, Starbucks buys coffee. I said, what do you mean Starbucks buys coffee? I said, yeah, they buy coffee from all over. I said, really? I said, well, geesh, they don't own a coffee farm? I own a coffee farm. I said, well, you know what? If they can source coffee, I can source coffee too. I don't want a coffee business. I called the guy that was interested in putting 100,000. This one I was trying to figure out how to raise money. Couldn't go to the family. I called the guy that was interested in raising $100,000. I said to him, I said, hey, I said, do you know who my father is? He says, yes, Bob Marley. I said, yes. And you know that my father is a universal man. I said, do you know that I am also universal? He said, what are you trying to say, Roman? What the fuck are you trying to say? I said, 1 second. I said, do you know that coffee is universal? And here's what we're going to do. We're not having a Jamaican company. We're going to build a coffee company. And it's going to be called Marley Coffee. And we're going to source our coffee from Ethiopia. Why? Ethiopia, the birthplace of civilization. Ethiopia, the birthplace of Rastafarian. Ethiopia, the birthplace of Haile Selassie. Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee. So I did that and connected my family legacy to its roots, which is really Ethiopia. So we named our first coffee before I could sell my coffee on the land in Jamaica. I named my first single origin sourced coffee from Ethiopia, One Love, because it's a single origin and it's Ethiopia, One Love. Then I named my espresso Lively Up. I named my decaf Simmer Down. I named my dark roast Get Up, Stand Up, stuff like that. And then finally, after I did that, I went back to my land in Jamaica because when I promised those farmers that I was going to build a coffee business, they just didn't know how. But I went to show them that I did it. And when I went to the Jamaican government, they banned me from bringing coffee into the country. The coffee board, they said I'm not allowed because it's because of tariff laws or whatever. I only had 4 bags with me, but they put me on the greener. So when they banned me from bringing coffee, I found the Indian guy down there, his name is Bron Baswani. And because I know if I walked in, they're going to deny me, I had him become the face. I made a partnership with Lennox Lewis, the boxer. I know they won't deny him. They love him so much. I partnered with the Sharp brothers, who already had 6,000. They already had all the license to export and import, roasting facility, processing plant. Partnered with them and my friend Bali, and I created Mali Coffee Jamaica and started a Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee business alongside what I did in Ethiopia. So I was able to accomplish that. But I had to first prove myself. Without them, I would go to in front of Air One in LA and stand in front with a AirPod and pour coffee. Please, hi, good afternoon, good morning. Hi, my name is Rohan Marley. Would you like to try some coffee? And I did that, serving thousands of people with my hands. Please try my coffee. Hi, I'd like to tell you more about my coffee. I can find this from, it's from Jamaica. This one's Jamaican. This one's from Ethiopia. And I went on and on all day long talking about coffee and my experience in coffee. So I landed 5 Whole Foods in California. And I landed also Dean and DeLuca in New York. So those are my 2 staples. So I would say, hey, I'm in Dean and DeLuca and Whole Foods. So I was the first guy to bring coffee, or Jamaican coffee, into Whole Foods. First guy to bring Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee into Dean and DeLuca, roasted package from Jamaica. And I was one of the first guys to sell roasted package product from Jamaica, Blue Mountain coffee, here in some of these supermarkets. Took it from $3,000 first year to $13 million by the 5th year, the 4th year. So that was Mali Coffee.
Man, you've got your own redemption song.
Yeah.
Right? You got your own redemption song.
With that, started all the other family businesses like the House of Marley, all the other business, I'm a steward of the family business myself and my sister Sidella. She's the head of the family business. I'm business development. So I bring a lot of development to the family, and her and I were very close in getting things done. And Brother Ziggy and Brother Stephen, we all work very closely together in regards to the Marley family business. But when I created Marley Coffee, I told my family that I'm going to create this product. Actually, I told my sister, I called her on the phone. I remember exactly where I was walking around in my grandma's yard. And I was saying to my sister on the telephone, I said, Sidella, I'm going to create Marley Coffee, right? And I'm going to put my face and my signature on the bag. If it fails, you blame me. But if it works, it's a family business. So now it's a family business. That was 2009.
Look at, man, you creatively collaborated. You were resilient. You had absolute courage and clarity as to what you needed to do. And the best part was you mitigated everyone's risk so that if you failed, it's on you. And if it worked, it's a win for all.
Yeah.
Those are.
And sorry, and that's what I mean when you ask the first question, and that is how, because what I'm saying is not stuff I haven't done. Because when I started Marley Coffee, I knew nothing about coffee, but I did know one thing for sure. I'm a Rasta man. I'm Rastafari. What is that when it comes down to the physical sense? Well, it's about health and wellness. It's about the ecosystem. It's about community development, people. I knew nothing what sustainability meant, but I knew that I'm a Rasta man. And as a Rastafari, I have to eat from my land. And if I'm going to eat from this land, it's got to be the food I don't want to put in my soul to keep me strong. But I also knew that I had to involve the community. But for the community to be a part of something that I'm going to be a part of, I didn't want to come to the community and bring chemicals to them to shorten their lifespan. I wanted to further the lifespan. So I started learning about sustainability and how to sustain the people by just giving them a better method of practices that they've been doing for thousands of years, or however many years they've been doing that there in that country. And being that through the system in Jamaica, if you were to go to an agriculture store in Jamaica, they weren't selling hose and hose, no, not them kind of hose, but they weren't selling hose and shovels and pickaxe and wheelbarrows and such. They were selling a product called Roundup. and I didn't even know what that roundup was. But because of in Jamaica, it's a task work, right? There's day jobs and there's task work and such, and there's a price and everything. So a task work would be to rid the weeds from around the plants, but it takes manpower. But to eliminate the manpower, they create this thing called Roundup, and you spray that and it kills all the weed. So I eliminated. You didn't see people walking around with these things on my farm. It was more hand to hand and natural resources. I met a lady on social media. This was at the time was MySpace. I asked her. Me and her became not so good of friends because she just her whole mission changed. But she did teach me a few things in regards to, because I refused to go through the system, and I started to become rogue in regards to the coffee industry. I refused to put chemicals on the land. I refused. I was the only guy, but I had to keep the land going. So I learned how to use the stuff from the coconut husk, the debris from the seaweeds, all the different things from the ocean, fish oil as a repellent. And also I remember going online my first time, and I had some money and I bought hundreds and hundreds of organic, a thing called Safer. It's called Safer. It's an organic material, hundreds of pallets. And I shipped it to Jamaica to introduce that to my farm. And the agriculture board did not allow me to bring the Safer into the country. Safer and neem, they would not allow me to bring it because it wasn't on their agricultural list at the time. So I had to find a way to like bring one bottle, and neem it was. Safer and neem. I spent hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars buying pallet loads of that stuff to bring onto the farm, so I would never be out. But they kept it on the wharf. So I had to figure out a way, and that's how I ended up on MySpace, meeting this lady and introduced her to my farm, and she helped me to build a compost. So I built a compost. I built my own nursery, and I created my own repellent as well as my own organic food for my plants. Yeah, so
talk about how innovative you were. You talk about sustainability, socially responsible, being inclusive, but also being innovative, being creative, really.
Yeah. So that's what that was. And you speak of Rastafari, and you speak of what I desire in life. My desires were then. I'm doing my desires now, meaning being one with self. And being one with self is, as I am, is how I do things. This is 50 years on. There's no change in me. There's nothing that you cannot change. I have grandchildren. You cannot change me, because then I have to go change their DNA. You have to change. It doesn't work. This is what we are. And you know what I mean? And we want to be good people, and we are good people, and we strive on doing good. That's what keeps us going, is the good to do, And what is good to do is, in your day, do good.
I love it. I think it's a really smart place to leave this conversation off, because I know we'll probably have many more. But for you, I feel like maybe in closing, when I think about institutionalizing your genius, your gift, your resilience, and of course, the spirituality you embrace, that new standard now being applied to the world of the life business. I love that, the life business. And it includes things like universal consumables, like cannabis, like coffee, like wine. That's why you've got your own wine brand.
Wine, coffee, hospitality, because I see it as one house, and it's a house of Marley, Ro Marley, whatever it is. But I see it as like that because it's everything, It's like I always think about it like the president of the United States, or the king of the world, or the king of the universe. But that human being has to be the ultimate reflection, like Haile Selassie the First. That human being has to be a reflection that everyone desires to be a part of, or want to be. They have to be like, but at least in the realm of, and moving with that same philosophy on life. You don't have to do everything one does, but it's the philosophy, and we're trying to bring that to business, that we can do business in a certain way that enlightens people in business, because business is about numbers, man. And it's like I was saying to a friend, I said, listen, man, your business, you started at zero, okay? 10 years ago, now you're profiting $100 million, right? You're profiting $100 million. But you told me you made, instead of you increased to 150 million, you increased to 120, and you're upset. So I'm like, I don't understand, but you're all in profit. So how are you upset with profit? Like, I don't get it, because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, and the profit that you have is sitting in some account that's collecting whatever. Yeah, call it interest, but still numbers. It's like whatever it is, it's like a numbers game. So I don't want to be in the numbers game. That's not my purpose in life. I want to live and live with the things I need. I don't want to be in a numbers game. I don't care on percentage. Yeah, I know it matters, and obviously it does, because you end up, this is the way people try to control you and own you, by taking what you have in a legal way and using percentage to, but it's not my thing. It's just, you feel happy with that, take it, man, and work for it and make it work, because remember, I'm giving you a part of what I have. So in human beings, this is how I bring the partners on board. And I tell them, I say, listen, we're working together here, and don't feel, because I always tell these partners, I said, when I met you, you weren't a part of this. I gave you something for nothing, right? But now I want to bring someone else on, and you're complaining because you think it's too much for that person, but you got it for nothing. So how does it work? You know what I mean? When I'm the one not complaining, when I'm the one giving. So I'm like, so it's like, for me, it's like the human mind. It's crazy, because I don't know. It's just crazy. The human mind, it's like crazy to me.
You operate on a different principle, which is a principle of purpose over profit.
Yeah.
And that's important to you.
Yeah, because it's forever. Like, you can't spend it all anyway. It's just to say you have it. And, no, you do it. And what about your kids? I said, well, my kids become part of my business, but they work with me, and they become owners of themselves too. I don't own my children, but I give to them until they can give to themselves.
Well, here's what I love, is that in the world of business, someone thought that coming up with a story was a great way to sell what they had. But then at some point, people started realizing that stories could be lies.
That's all and that's right. And that's all I ever had, was to tell the truth. Because like, when it comes down to business, right? I was like when you're asking something, like philosophically, I'm like, when you're asking something, where do I get this information from? This information has to come from what I've done. It's like what you're asking me, you're asking me about me, right? So I have to tell you about me.
That's
I can't tell you nothing else. I got to tell you how I got here with this item about me that you're asking about. This is how I got here. So all I know is how I did it, how I got to this point. I don't know anything else.
Well, and that's what I love, is we're going to fire back up and we wrap this conversation up. And I know it's going to be the first of many conversations, is that as you've selected to have a business life where it's purpose before profit, it allows you to work with smart people. That's likely you and I are working in a very profound way. But knowing that story was a part of the sales presentation, what it lacked was soul and spirit. And what I'm going to present to you is, I think that bringing in and bringing back soul and spirit, which is an extension of one's story, but it's grounded in one's spirituality, is bringing that and putting it back into the life business, putting it back into these universal consumable good business, putting it into a production company, a marketing company. If you're disconnected from reality and authenticity, you need to bring your spirit and your soul back to the company.
Into the company, absolutely. You got to go to your truth.
That's it. I think that's a big part of what's going to come next for you, Rohan, is institutionalizing not just the how you approach life, which is the Rastafarian way of life, which is what you were embodying since the birth of your father, and of course the continuance of your legacy. How you've demonstrated that in businesses like Marley Coffee as one great example of many.
Exactly.
Please.
because that's exactly what I was trying to say. These aren't my desires. These are things I've done. It's not this is not something I know it works because I am here to tell you it works, but I can show you the track record. The thing is, I have a track record.
Well, you know what? You know how I say it? I don't mean to interrupt you, brother, but I say it this way: is the way you live, the way you love, the way you laugh, the way you lead defines what you leave. And what you leave is your legacy.
Sure.
So we're always living our legacy because you're always, because we never know.
Yeah, always living your legacy. So what is legacy? It's someone's story.
I love it. Brother, I appreciate you. I appreciate this time. I think this is going to be the first of many conversations because we've cracked into something. But in the spirit of managing your day, I want to make sure I honor the time that we put aside for today.
Wonderful. So yeah, let's get our thing organized and let's move forward, man. I'm excited and I love this and love being able to organize what I'm saying here because it's real. It's not like it's not real. It's real. It's been done. I'm doing it, and I'm doing it over and over again.
No, I love it. Well, you have my word. We're going to check in weekly. I'm going to see you every other week. Look, I've taken copious notes. So I'm going to start paraphrasing everything I'm going to do and just go after one deal at a time. Just one deal at a time. Just, think big, start small. That's it.
And you have my decks, right? Those decks I sent you. Good, perfect.
I have everything. I have everything I need now. Yes. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm going to circle back with you.
Rastafarian.
Come on, man.
Yes.
See you, brother.